Welcome to today's episode of WooNews TV, where we bring spiritual concepts into the mainstream to make them more relatable and understandable for you. Today's topic is Archangels, and my return guest, Claryen Riol, and I are going to have a fun conversation about who they are, what they do, how they work, how you can work with them yourself, and some fun personal little anecdotes along the way. Welcome back, Claryen.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about the Archangels with you today.
I want to remind everyone who Claryen is, in case you are new here. Claryen channels through her use of Reiki, tuning forks, dowsing, and light language while applying sacred geometry, numerology, and astrology to each client. Her newest offering includes starseed/grid healings based on one's primary star origin, as well as conducting parapsychology research with her conscious healing meditation app. Her information will be at the bottom of the description, so you can know how to contact Claryen to take advantage of what she offers.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in. Claryen, tell us what an archangel is.
So the Archangels come from the 10th dimension, which is a very high dimension, close to God, source creator. And they are here to help as messengers, healers, to connect us through grief, our understanding of where we are in our life path. Any archangel has a specific message or light ray that comes in with that healing message, knowledge, whatever we want to call it.
Excellent. Okay, should we just jump in?
Let's just jump in.
Right, let's start with Archangel Raphael.
Okay, Raphael is one of my favorite archangels to work with. He's been working with me for quite some time. He comes in as a green ray, and he's the leader of the green ray. And the reason why he comes as the green ray is because green is referencing healing, and his symbol is the caduceus staff, which a lot of people kind of are familiar with that, which, you know, our medicine reflects that. Mm-hmm. So he's a very strong archangel to bring in that healing. He reminds us of eating healthy when we don't eat, you know, the foods that we're supposed to be eating. He'll remind us that we need to either drink more water or eat more healthy. And, you know, his healing energy, I can share a little story about him. And I won't share too much of the grief that I was going through at that time, but I really needed some healing. There was some stomach pain that I was having, and nobody could figure out what was going on with me. And so I said, okay, I'm going to call in Archangel Raphael and just have him be able to heal me. Well, I did not expect him to show up. So Raphael is one of the archangels that I've actually seen and felt with my body and seen with my natural eyes. So as I woke up in the middle of the night, I felt someone holding my hand, and with my left hand, he was holding my left hand with his left hand, and his right hand was on my stomach. Mm-hmm. And his intention was so intense, I will say, just focusing on that healing of my stomach. And I just didn't know who it was. You know, just because you come out of a sleep and you're just kind of like, who's holding my hand? What's going on? And I remember how big he was, and remembering that he was kneeling on the side of my bed, and the torso hit, well, I guess it was below his torso, his hip area was where my bed was. Mm-hmm. And as I was holding his hand, I could feel like, you know, his hands were so huge that I actually felt like a child holding his hand. And when I realized, you know, who it was, I kind of moved my head to take a closer look at him, because he had very long, I guess, sandy blonde hair. He was wearing this green, I guess, hooded cape. It's kind of more like a silky green. He didn't have the hood on. It was just kind of draped. And just remembering his clothes kind of had this tweed or this beige color top that I could remember. And just remembering his blue eyes. I mean, the bluest eyes I've ever seen. And I moved my head just to take a quicker look, and he looked at me and in his mind said, "Oh, child, you were not supposed to wake up." He lifted his hand, touched my chest. I remember my chest raising And that's all I remember, and fell back asleep. And I remembered the whole thing in the morning. I guess I was allowed to see, to remember that,
And
because
how'd you feel when you woke up?
oh, I felt amazing. Later on, they found I had a 5-inch hernia. But he was actually helping to heal that so that they could find out what was wrong with me. And just the the gratitude I felt for coming in and allowing me to remember that. And I just said, anytime that I need to work with people that need healing, to just call him in. And he does wonders for the healing of the soul, healing of the body, healing of the mind. He'll do everything for you.
So one thing I want to mention to everyone is this, especially if this is new for you, you might not have such a concrete visual of these archangels as Claryen does. I can't see them that clearly. I can see some images in my mind's eye. I feel them. I feel their energy. I feel their presence. I feel their differences. I can feel their color. You might hear sound. You might just have the knowing, or you might not have any of that at all now or ever, and that's okay. So if you don't have the similar experiences that we're sharing, don't be discouraged. You are still able to work with them. You are still working with them. And in time, you might see a little more, or you might not. But either way, it's still all good. It's all perfect, however it works for you. And one more other thing I wanted to mention is she and I were talking earlier about there's some conflicting information on the internet about archangels. So what would you say to that, Claryen?
I would say use your intuition. I see Archangel Raphael as he's coming in. I see the green. And what it looks like to me whenever the archangels come in, it's almost like a kind of like a crystally, sparkly color as they come in. And so use your intuition, trust who you are connecting to, and that's all that they request.
And if you read something on the internet, trust your intuition. As I've always said, when you're reading on the internet, listening to the news, listening to a friend, trust your own inner guidance to know what is true. So I just wanted to clarify those two things before we move on. So are we ready to move on to Uriel?
Yes, Uriel.
Okay.
Uriel comes in. I haven't worked with Uriel too much. I know my son has a lot.
I've been working with Uriel a lot lately.
Yeah, that's good. And he comes in as this kind of like a scarlet red color. And whenever I see those sparkles of red, I'm knowing that like Uriel is giving me this kind of higher understanding. He comes in with like a higher understanding of knowledge. That's what he does for me. And so you might want to share your experiences, what you've gone through.
I ask for Uriel to connect me with my inner knowing, my inner power, my inner light. And I always, and that was saying with humility and responsibility, but to connect me with that true essence of who I am, to enhance it, to just connect with it more and more, and stay out of all fear and doubt and things like that. So I call them in a meditation and just feel that presence. And sometimes I see Uriel doing things, or I feel doing things, or it's just standing there.
Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, and Michael all come in as they hold the horizontal hemispheres. So Uriel comes from the north, okay? Raphael comes from the east. And it's very important that we mention that. So when they are calling in these archangels, to stand in that hemisphere so that it's welcoming their energy.
What do you mean stand in that hemisphere?
Yeah. So say, for instance, you want to connect with Archangel Uriel, since that's who we're talking about. Stand facing the north, because
face the north is what you're saying.
Face the north and ask Uriel to come in.
Okay. So if I have a decision I need to make, that's when Uriel can be of assistance, for example.
Yes.
Or if I'm seeking to understand the situation, that's when Uriel can. Maybe that's why I work with him so much, because I do that for others.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And we have to remind everyone, we have a spiritual team. Everybody has a spiritual team. Mm-hmm. The archangels, their energy can go with any one of us at any moment in time, because they're just, close to this God source creator, being those messengers. Now, one of the things that they're mentioning with, we don't want to praise them because they're making sure. So I'm going to be channeling the whole time we're doing this. They don't want you to praise them, to give thanks to God source creator is basically what they're saying, but they're here to help us when we ask.
And we have to ask. They can't intervene if we don't ask.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about one of my other favorites is Michael.
Michael. I love Archangel
Michael with the sword.
Yes. So every time I work with Archangel Michael, he is the archangel of protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's over the blue rays. So he's the leader of the blue rays. And even
meaning he has a blue aura. He has
a blue aura. Yeah.
People don't understand what the blue ray is. So I wanted to clarify that.
Right. Ray is an aura, and we all have our own aura, right? That's our signature. And that's kind of what they come in as their signature. But with him, I always visualize him holding the sword of truth and wearing this breastplate of faith and really helping us, feel like we are protected. He's great to work with if you need to feel that you need to ground yourself and have that protection around you. Just a lovely, lovely archangel.
I use Archangel Michael a lot to clear myself. Whenever I feel a dark energy around, I use him for that, to clear that off, to protect me from that. So sometimes I've been attacked in my dream state from the dark energies, and I always call on Archangel Michael in that state, as well as some other things to remove that. And I work with him daily. It's just always a part of my space. But this is a fun story I want to share about a girlfriend of mine. I was in life coaching school many years ago. Can't remember how many, maybe even 12, if not more. And I became friends with a woman there who had never been exposed to any of this kind of information or even religion. She just had no background in this at all. And if somebody close to her had died recently, and she kept feeling a presence around her. She was very connected and tuned in, but she didn't have any context for any of this. But she felt him around her. So she went to one of our instructors. All of the ladies at the time that were instructing us were plugged into this realm, this world as well. And she asked Linda, she said, "This is what's happening. What do I do?" And so Linda, first thing Linda does is she calls in Archangel Michael. Linda is the teacher, calls in Archangel Michael. And my friend, Gina, she, again, knows nothing about any of this. She hears boom, 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 boom. And then she hears whoosh. And she hears the sound, and she's explaining this to Linda, and Linda is stunned. Can't even believe that this woman is having this experience of hearing this so clearly and feeling the movement of this so clearly, especially when she had no context for any of this. So, you can't make that up. To me, that was one more indication that this stuff is real, because again, this woman had zero knowledge about any of this, not even religion. So I would like to tell people that story, especially when they're new to this, because anybody, they are there, and anyone can work with them.
Yes, as long as you ask, because they can't intervene without your permission. That's with the directive that we all voted for, this free will.
And I always use Archangel Michael before I work with a client or before we do a show, and and I ask him to protect my loved ones and my dogs and all that too. So yeah, and he is south. What direction is Archangel Michael?
Yeah, so Archangel holds the south
part
of the horizontal hemisphere. And of course, you can, since you mentioned the sword and I've mentioned the sword, that is his symbol, right? That symbol of that truth of what that sword brings. And I love that story, to hear the sword movement. That's what she was hearing. That
first she heard him walking up. Kind of, and then she heard him taking it out of the sheath and whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What am I hearing?"
Well, and they have to be about like 10 feet. I mean, they're very big.
I imagine they shrink down just for us, though.
Possibly.
Yeah, I imagine. Is there anything else you want to share about Michael before we move on to the next one on my list?
I just know that there's been so many stories about even countries, well, like stories that I've heard of countries under battle and sharing that Archangel Michael came in with the army of, the Blu-rays.
Okay, let's go on to Gabe. Oh, wait, one more thing I want to say. I think Michael is one of the two that are actually in the Bible.
Yeah, so Michael is, we're going to have to reference religion because religious characters, and I'm talking like all religions, have some form of the archangel, mentioning the archangels, and Michael is one of them.
And I
Now,
think the next one I mentioned is Gabriel too, because wasn't Gabriel the one who, in the Christian context, announced to Mary that she was pregnant?
Yes.
Annunciation, yeah. That was my Catholic school days, the Annunciation.
Yes.
Okay, Archangel Gabriel, who is the West.
Who is the West,
Okay.
who is the archangel of communication. And since you mentioned, in Christianity, having the messenger be that Jesus was going to be born. So you can use Archangel Gabriel for any type of creativity, communication with music, with speech, anything that has, I would say, even if you're working with the internet, call on Archangel Gabriel so that they, and I say he because he comes over, and let's talk about that a little bit because they're referencing holding both feminine and masculine energies. Raphael always comes in as a masculine energy for me. Michael always comes in as a masculine energy for me. Gabriel always comes in as a masculine energy, and so does Uriel. Now, the other ones might come in more feminine that we're going to talk about, but those are the ones that, for me, have come over as masculine.
And what color is Gabriel? What color is?
More like an orange amber color. That's
so if you're doing, like when I'm doing a writing project, if I'm stuck on something, I ask Archangel Gabriel to help me to inspire whatever creative project I'm doing next. Is that one way?
Oh, that would be beautiful if you could do that. And just ask for the clarity of mind and speech so that you're able to communicate, very well with that energy.
In writing, in speaking, in music, we are giving messages. And Archangel Gabriel is the messenger, right?
Yes.
Messenger, isn't that what they're called?
I believe that's, the name means God, messenger, God,
yeah.
Something like that, messenger of God.
Anything else about Gabriel you'd like to share?
I haven't really worked with Gabriel that much, but I just know whenever I'm stuck on writing or kind of making that mental, to help, I always bring in Uriel and Gabriel together to help that clarity and that communication to be clear.
Okay. Great.
There's no reason. I mean, there's, how with the 4 hemispheres, I mean, come on. I mean, our body is the hemisphere, right? And so when we're bringing in a very right masculine and left is more healing, which is more feminine. Do you know what I'm saying? So really listen to your intuition on their power of what they bring to us
and who you need at what time. So now let's talk about a few more that people might not be as familiar with. Well, another favorite of mine is Archangel Shamuel.
Yeah, so Shamuel comes in as different colors, and I'm not sure if it's
yellow.
Yes, it's like yes, it's almost like a lemony yellow, kind of like
I don't get that specific. It's just
it's
just yellow to me.
It's just yellow.
Okay.
But each ray, because Jovial comes in as yellow too, but more of a subdued yellow, where Shamuel comes more in with this brighter yellow. However, I've actually worked with Shamuel once I've brought Raphael into my heart chakra. Shamuel will come in and bring in a lighter, kind of like a pinkish, greenish, to help with that love. Because Shamuel is all about relationships, all about love, bringing in this self-love, this unconditional love that we need for ourselves.
And others.
Yes, and others. Exactly.
Yeah, important right now, I think. I work with Shamuel when I'm feeling disconnected, when I'm feeling hard on myself, or when I'm struggling with someone in my space, in my world, go back into that unconditional love and release all judgments and, step out of that ego realm and really be able to see that person for who they truly are and not with the lens with which I'm seeing them at that moment.
Yeah.
But that seems to help. It just brings you back into the space of love. In a nutshell, that's what I work with Samuel with. It's just call them in and to connect with that love again.
Yeah. And Samuel always comes in for me as female.
Me too, usually.
And
Yeah.
I've heard other people that they've had expressed that they felt the masculine energy for Samuel. And I think it has to do with the action part of love.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about masculine and feminine, masculine is that power, that action, and the feminine is more of that receiving. And so,
does it really matter if people are clear on what the gender energy, what the energy is?
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
I really want people that are new to this. Some people watching this might be very versed in this. Others that are new to this, I don't want them to be intimidated by getting it wrong.
Right, exactly. And so it doesn't matter, whatever the energy that you're feeling and for that purpose.
Okay.
I think that's the energy that they allow us to see.
Okay. Let's move on to Azrael, another helpful one right now these days with so many people transitioning and leaving and passing away.
Yeah, Azrael is the archangel of death, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, God, that's like a really dark energy." But you have to think he comes to me as a masculine energy. He comes with a very purple vibration. Anytime I am channeling or doing my mediumship, trying to bring in a loved one's, whosoever's crossed over, he'll come in with this loving purple energy. And let's mention a lot of the times we are going through grief when we have lost a loved one. And so instead of thinking of death, I think he's trying to hold that energy of that love. When we have lost someone, we grieve for them. It's just a normal human behavior that we have to go through. And so he's helping us to transition that grief into that higher understanding of love.
Soothing. I always have asked him to soothe my heart and when I'm feeling it really deeply.
Yes.
Yeah. Ariel.
Love her. She always comes to me as female. I remember she came to me in my mind's eye. And we met on the beach, and she was wearing this beautiful, soft pink long gown. And I remember her telling me of how grateful that she was that the world was starting to clean up the oceans, which was phenomenal because I had just watched a group of people that created this technology to go out into the oceans and pick up all the trash. And she was telling me how thankful she was that people were really starting to dive into cleaning up the planet, because that's what she's over the ocean, she's over the animals, she's comes in with that pink glittery, she always comes in like pink glittery color for me.
So you said she's over animals.
Yes, she loves the dogs, she loves the cats, she just loves animals. That's just her love.
So if you need help with your animals, would you call on Archangel Ariel?
Yes, in fact, one of the times
finding your lost animal or healing your animal.
Healing, especially. I remember, doing a lot of Reiki on animals early on in my career, and I remember this dog was just sick. I mean, she was just so sick. And the group of people that I was working with, we just brought Ariel in, and the tears that it's almost like her tears were like healing this animal. And I just watched this tear just drop on the dog, and the dog's whole essence changed. And it was such a phenomenal healing that I'd never experienced prior to that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was beautiful energy.
Okay, let's do, Metatron. Metatron's big. Archangel Metatron. I want to make sure I'm speaking loud enough here.
Yes.
Let's talk about Metatron.
So Metatron holds the vertical space, and the opposite would be Sandalphon. So Metatron holds the higher of the hemisphere, and Sandalphon will hold the lower. And the reason why they come in together, because these two, if we're talking biblically or religion, these are the only archangels that came in as humans.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can talk on that too. Well, except for Archangel Michael coming in as Adam. But Metatron, I believe, came in as Enoch, and Sandalphon was Isaiah. And so whenever, which kind of makes sense that they hold the lower and the upper hemispheres, right?
What does that mean, lower and upper hemispheres? The heaven and the earth?
The heaven and the earth.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Sandalphon would be more of this earthy, feeling, and Metatron takes that knowledge, and that's why with the sacred geometry he brings to us, he holds a lot of the messages through that sacred geometry.
Okay, let's dial this back a little bit. So Metatron works with what?
I would say for a higher understanding about creation and why you're here and where you came from, why you're here, and where you're going. He answers those.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and I thought I had understood. I could be wrong. That Metatron also was over the indigo children,
Oh yes,
the crystal
yes,
children.
yes.
So if you have a, I'm not sure where to refer people to indigo children other than Lee Carroll, but if you have a crystal child or an indigo child, or if you are an indigo
Or
or a
rainbow.
child, Metatron is who you can call on to help you understand yourself better, to be in the power of that energy of the indigo or the crystal. Do you want to, since we're bringing that up, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So let's talk about especially with what I do for my clients is I really tap into their Akash to look to see if they are one of their volunteers that have come here to help raise the vibration of the planet. Some people just know that that's what they're here to do. They have a mission. Archangel Metatron helps facilitate that mission work. And that's why you have a lot of the crystal children, the indigo children, the rainbow children. These are our labels that people have given these volunteers. So if you're a volunteer, more than likely you're going to land in one of these areas.
Especially if you're younger.
Yes.
Younger than us.
And maybe we do a show just on what, Archangel Metatron really brings to those volunteers to help them stay on mission.
Or we do a show on volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, since you mentioned Sandalphon with Metatron, let's add a little bit more about Archangel Sandalphon.
So Sandalphon I haven't worked too much with, but I know that when he came in, it was more for the musicality that I was going through at that time and bringing in sound therapy. He actually brought in some sound frequency for me. And if you kind of think about joining the southern hemisphere with Earth and Metatron with heaven, it's really that, as above, so below, universal law. And that's why I think calling in them together would be beneficial, because you're working with Earth, being here and being grounded on Earth, but then having this higher connection to the higher realms.
Okay, so you said something about connection with sound frequencies. So Archangel Sandalphon is connected to that as well. So like my tuning forks and things like that, that's also his area.
Yes.
So would I haven't done this before, but would I call him in when I'm doing a tuning fork clearing on someone?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's new for me. So anytime you're working with sound frequencies, sound healing, call him
and
in.
you think of it, if you think of, and that's why I said call them in together, Sandalphon and Metatron, because they always consider them as like the twins, the twin brothers.
Yeah, I always feel them as brothers.
Yeah. And so if you think about sound and you think about sacred geometry, that is creation. That is God's source creator right there.
Haniel.
Haniel always comes to me in female form. And when she comes in as a baby blue ray of sparkles. And I say sparkles because it looks like sparkles to me. Whenever I connect with her, I'm actually connecting with the moon cycles. So the new moon or full moon, I'll always call in Archangel Haniel to bring in those cycles.
Okay, so what does that mean for the basics? Why would
Yeah.
somebody
So
help
anytime,
someone?
right. So anytime we call in Archangel Haniel, let's say it's a full moon and you want
Okay.
to be able to release things that are not serving you anymore.
Just
Sometimes
what do
that's
we do at
hard.
full moons?
Right. What
Right.
we do is with our full moon, we do a release.
Mhm.
And so we call on Archangel Haniel. She's related to the moonstone as well, as she just said. So if anybody has a moonstone crystal
Hmm.
and you see that glow of that baby blue in that moonstone, you are connecting with Haniel.
Okay.
With a new moon energy, we're you know, going into a new beginning in some way, right? We've let go of all the things that don't serve us, and we're ready to step into more of what's aligned for us for our highest good. And
And
she
so you
helps.
follow upon her around a new moon to help you bring in the new.
Yes.
Can you call on her for the same energies of the new moon or the full moon, even if it isn't a new moon or full moon? So, like, if you're wanting to release, can she help you with just releasing in general at any time?
Absolutely.
You're wanting
Yeah.
to bring in new and you're ready for some new to come in, you call on her to help you with that.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's a new moon or a full moon. You can bring in her energy. And anytime that I'm really diving deep into emotions, and you think about the moon energy, and I think this is
Right.
why she comes to me as female energy, because the moon is very female energy, right? And those deep emotions that you feel when we have a full moon or a new moon, we all go through those energies. So anytime that you're having some type of an emotional release, bring in Archangel Haniel, and she'll help really control those emotions that you're
Okay.
going through.
To regulate them better.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
that's a good word. Regulate them better.
Zadkiel.
Zadkiel comes just like Azrael comes in with a purple. Zadkiel comes across as more like a violet. And I think the reason why I see the two of them together when I do mediumship, one, because one's helping with grief and one's connecting you to the other realm.
So how does Zadkiel help you with grief?
So I always like to bring in Azrael and Zadkiel to handle with bringing in the energies of our loved ones who have crossed over, to help with our grief, to help us connect with these higher realms, this understanding that they're just in a different dimension. Sometimes it's very hard for people if they've gone through a lot of grief, if we've lost someone that we are, so tied to and love dearly, and we want to be with them. They want to make sure that we're connecting them with us. And so anybody can channel and use those skills to call in Zadkiel and Azrael to say, please, I would like to, call in a loved one just to receive a message.
Okay, so if you're wanting to connect with someone who's crossed over,
Yes.
ask for their help, typically together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that's what I do for myself whenever I'm doing a mediumship reading. I will always bring the two of them together. And I think that's why they come in as that purple ray, the violet and the purple. Jovial comes across both feminine and masculine for me, depending on
Feminine, but I don't work with them much.
yeah. And I see a very pale yellow when Jovial comes in. Jovial comes in when I'm in nature, and I believe that Jovial means the beauty of God. I believe that that's what Jovial means. And so anytime I'm in a masculine energy and I'm doing something in nature or I'm volunteering, I feel Jovial. If I'm just enjoying nature and having that loving essence around me, then the feminine aspect of Jovial comes in for me.
So if you want to connect with the energy of nature more, which is grounding, which is, nature is the one uncorrupted connection to source here in this earth realm.
Yeah.
That's when you would call in Jovial.
Yes. And just think of everything beautiful.
Okay. But if Ariel is oceans and animals,
Mhm.
Jovial is
Well, she can come in with a nature. So does Haniel. Each of them have their, I think, they kind of cross over a little bit. And I think that's why I see them in so many different aspects of the same kind
Yeah.
of energy, because they can cross over.
Okay. Archangel Raziel.
I'll share a story about Raziel.
Please.
I was in a sound therapy with one of my good friends. I call her my sound goddess because she just is amazing. And I remember as she was playing the crystal bowls, Raziel came in with the staff and has this rainbow color on the staff and was teaching me kind of like what Metatron would teach me with the sacred geometry. And so I think he works a lot with Metatron. Raziel and Metatron work together in that creation, but it was a phenomenal experience that I had in that vision, that he was just teaching the knowledge. Like I consider him like a teacher.
And so Raziel is teacher for any information?
Any information. Yeah. And at that particular moment, I was concentrating on a lot of sacred geometry. And so I just remember him waving the staff and just drawing the sacred geometry with it. It was beautiful.
So why would I want to work with Raziel? What would be the need for me? What need would I have?
I always like to say Raziel connects us. Think of all your chakras, right? Okay. And I think that's why the staff has this rainbow color, because he's working with all the chakras, connecting you, grounding you, and really helping you step into the highest form of being that you can be in.
What would be like an invocation? Archangel Raziel, please help me to
connect fully with my chakras, help me align myself fully to being grounded and reaching the higher rays.
So Raziel can clear your chakras and ground you and center you.
Yes.
I did not know that. That's
yeah. And I always picture his staff. I mean, he always comes in with this staff with this rainbow color. And then he just would draw.
Okay. Staff. So when you want your chakras cleared and aligned, you call on Archangel Raziel. When you want to be grounded, after you do that, you call on Archangel Raziel, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. Raguel, Archangel Raguel.
Raguel comes in as more of that clairsentience, that feeling. So a lot of the empaths will really channel Archangel Raguel. Clairsentience.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So
maybe he's around more than I realized.
Well, maybe he is.
Okay. Okay.
And let's talk about clairsentience, because that's a new word that we've mentioned that maybe people don't understand what that is. And that could be a whole nother show with the clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. We could even talk about
claircognizance. Yes.
Yeah. So clairsentience is all about feeling and really tapping into your emotions.
And when one of the ways I receive information for people is clairsentient. I feel it coming through.
Yes.
Energetically, and then I decipher it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Have we missed one? Is there another one you want to cover? Anything they're telling you?
No, I mean, there's a lot of archangels, and each hold their own space.
Yeah.
And you think about how God Source Creator created each one of us, right? We have our specific gifts. And I think that's what the archangels want to really make known today. Everyone has gifts that they can share to the world, whether they feel, whether they see, whether they hear, whether they're drawing sacred geometry, whether they're tapping into light language. Everyone has a gift to share. And that's what they're here to help us to step into our fullest humanness, to fulfill our life mission. Okay. That's their job.
Do you want to go into the cards?
Yes. How about we pull like a card and just get a message?
He has a deck of archangel cards.
Yes. So I have the archangels. The Archangel Oracle cards from Doreen Virtue. Now, obviously, for those of you that know, Doreen has stepped away from the metaphysical world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but her cards are
I
still.
still resonate with her work. I always,
Oh, I do too. I do too. Just because she's made a choice, we
yeah.
send her that love because everybody has free will
And
to
then, well, there's other information out there on angels and archangels and other cards and things. So, like we said at the beginning, you have to go with what feels right to you and whose definition, explanation of these beings resonates with you. It's like a dream book. Oh, this book resonates with me. I like this information. It tends to resonate with me. This one, not so much. So, apply that with all of this as well.
agreed. 100% agreement.
You're going to pull a card for
Okay.
the viewers.
Let's pull a card for the messages from the archangels. There's one already that just popped up, and that one was Raphael.
So she's shuffling, if you all don't know. And what she does when she does readings is she shuffles the cards, and whichever ones fall out are the ones that she are for you.
Well, okay, that one was like a mess.
Usually that's what happens. Sometimes it's a mess.
Well, and usually whenever that happens to me, it's almost like the cards need to be reshuffled. And sometimes when they come in with my energy, it's kind of explosive. The energy is very explosive. So we'll get one more. We'll do 2 cards. So but we'll, oh, thank you. Okay. So we're gonna do Archangel Raphael, and I got to put my glasses on. I'm so sorry. I can't read it without my glasses. Angel therapy, Angel Raphael, give your cares and worries to us angels and allow us to take your burdens.
That's very timely for people right now.
It's very timely.
You can literally just say, I give this over to my angels. I give this over to the angels. You can literally say that, and it detaches you from it. It takes it out of you, and it gives it to a higher dimension where what is for your highest good can come into play, whether you know what that is or why or not. It just literally removes it from you and puts it there, and someone else is handling it for you.
Well, and you think of where the world is today and the worries of where government and finances, or we could just talk about everything of all the worries that people are struggling with today. And I think that our Archangel Raphael would be a fabulous archangel to bring in to take that worry.
Really struggling right now.
Very, very healing. Very healing. Okay, the second one that came through was nurture, Archangel Gabriel. As you nurture a child, you nurture your own inner child. Both activities are important for you right now. And I cannot emphasize this enough about self-love right now. We are in a very self-loving energy.
Which means taking care of yourself, doing things that fill you and feed you and make you feel good, and step out of obligation a little more, and do things more for yourself to replenish, to rejuvenate, to heal, to calm, to soothe, so you can go back out in the world and do what you need to do and help who you want to help.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it any better.
All right. Any final messages?
I think one of the things that, archangels are really known for is to really bring that peace, understanding that we are connected to God, source creator. That is their main message, that they really want us to understand that we are all one. We're all part of God, source creator, every one of us. And to not only give them the burdens, take your worries and your burdens, but to give thanks to God, source creator, for the creation of these helpers for the archangels, because that's what they're here to do.
And to celebrate with them and to have fun with this.
Yes, exactly.
Don't take this too seriously, but be reverent and have fun. So we're going to say goodbye to Claryen, and I'm going to wrap up the show when she's gone. And thank you again for coming on once again, and we'll see you again on lots of other topics we have in mind.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you, as always.
Are the archangels pleased with what we've shared today?
They are. They have been chatting all morning. So this was a good way to get their message across to so many of your followers.
And if you have any questions or comments about this, put them in the comment section, and we will try to address them as best we can. So thanks so much for joining us, Claryen.
Thank you.
So I want to say a few final words about the archangels. It's always been a comfort to me to work with these beings, and it took me a while to trust myself that I could do it, trust that I was doing it right, trust that I wasn't calling in something in that was dark, which is why I always call through God, source, creator as well. And the more I worked with it, the more I sensed their presence, because for me, it's a sensing. The more I saw a few things, and the more I saw the results of working with them. And at the very least, working with them, and even angels, archangels, angels, that whole realm, remind you that you're not alone. We can all feel very alone, especially right now. Even if you're living with someone, if you're not physically alone, you can still feel alone with what's going on within yourself and within the world. So these archangels remind us that we are not alone. I had someone tell me one time, the only ones you can count on is God and your angels and guides. And I kind of think there's some truth to that sometimes. She's right with that a little bit. But point is, you're not alone. And the more you work with them, the less you will feel alone. And that in and of itself is a huge gift. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and play around with working with the archangels, whichever one you need at whatever time, or just pick one and develop a relationship with that one. And you don't have to work with all of them. You can just work with one or two if you want and develop that relationship, and know that they're always there with you when you call on them, but you have to call on them because they can't help if you don't ask. So I hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time.